for you guys. And so just think about it. So I wanted to point that one out. You might want to make a, dog-ear that page. And just as an example, like let me pick on Dan. So Dan, your context is student recruitment. Who would you identify as your customer if you were looking at it that way?
From two perspectives, we would look at the student and their family as a customer of information about the university, but we'd look at the faculty and program directors as customers of well-prepared students who are a good fit.
So you could choose to do this activity in two ways then, right? And you could start to take these questions and think about how to, in question number one, instead of how do customers become aware of the need for your product or service, personalize that, and how do faculty administrators become aware of our services. And so if you'd modify those questions and think about it in the light of their experience. This is actually a really good, just getting ahead to research. This is really a good process as well, because when you're designing interview questions or survey questions to do research, one of the common pitfalls is we can design awesome questions that sound great to us, but then you go out and pilot the survey, and the participants in your study have no idea what you're talking about and don't understand your intended meaning. And so you have to design questions that have the customer, the participant, the survey participant in mind. So anyway, that's one I wanted to point out. A second one for experimenting would be what I thought. I looked through this chapter, and they kind of break it down into three areas in terms of experimenting. Trying out new experiences, something that I'm forcing you to do today. Take apart products, processes, and ideas, and then test ideas through pilots and prototypes. One of the things we're going to learn about this morning is short experiments, and it kind of connects to this. But on page 145, on page 145 of the DNA book, there's a section on testing new ideas through pilots and prototypes. One idea that you might want to take away for the application report would be to go back to your environment and pilot something. Literally go through the process of saying, you know what, I've had this issue or I've got this problem, and literally in the next 2 weeks I'm going to generate an idea, try to solve this problem, and pilot it. So that would be another possibility for the application report. So anyway, those are a couple of thoughts. But any questions about, now that I brought up the application report assignment, any questions about that since we're on it? Save us some time this afternoon. You want to take a look at the prompts for it? Yeah, some of the assignments, I still have yet to give you some guidelines. For example, I'm going to give you some sample failure resumes. Those will be posted by tomorrow. I'm going to give you a detailed prompt for the assignment where I have you meet together and reflect on the course applications. I'm going to give you, so I owe you a few things in addition to what I've already provided, and all of that will be up and running by tomorrow or Monday at the latest. Eric?
Which unit is it in?
Let's see.
7?
I found it. It's in 7.
7. Actually, you can always go up to this in the course introduction. There is a page here called Assignments and Grading, so everything's there in sort of one place, and then they're also distributed throughout the units in terms of where they fall chronologically. So this application report is described right here, and this is a 2 to 4 page double-spaced paper that describes and analyzes, again here, your attempt to execute one of the strategies or processes discussed in class. This could be very ambitious, or it could be just really simple, introducing discussion at one of your meetings with your team, something like that. And this is simply, again, going back to the goal of this assignment, why is it there? I want you to pick something from the course that we've encountered so far and apply it in your own professional context. So here I have detailed guidelines and a template we provided. I'll have that all up. Like I said, should I promise? I won't promise by tomorrow, but I'd say by the time you're over jet lag, when you get back, it'll all be up and provided. All right. So while we're waiting for the copies to come in, any comments to kind of segue into this activity where we're going to look at CAPML Chapter 10 on observation or experimentation? Comments from the book, the DNA book, or I don't know, thoughts about your experiences or how observation and experimentation might fit in?
Well, I'll share one thing.
How many of you are experimenters and good observers?
I mentioned it to you yesterday. So I've spent literally the last 25 years in online education, and I have always espoused and preached that online education is not inferior education, that outcomes in online education can be as good or better than face-to-face education, and there is no subject or challenge that online education can't handle at least as well as face-to-face. And I've believed that for 25 years. I mean, I've really preached that with all of my heart and soul. And yesterday, in the innovation section of the class, I had to admit to myself, I had this total aha moment that maybe when you're teaching innovation at the graduate level, if you do that only online, you are not able to convey the depth, breadth, strength, and, you know, creativeness of the problem. And so for me, that was a very powerful takeaway that totally questions like my entire background as an online educator. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
So let's connect that to observation, experimentation. I mean, it's still observation you made, right? You're paying attention to what was happening, okay?
And if I hadn't been there and been talking to Sean and really listening to him and seeing the way that he explained that to me, I just wouldn't have been able to have that takeaway, I don't think.
One of the, a point I remember from a discussion, I can't remember what group, but I think I was sharing about how over the last couple of years and thinking about this kind of work, I really had to come to the realization that I'm not a good observer. As an ethnographer and when I do qualitative research, I can go out there and take field notes with the best of them. But in terms of my normal daily practice, I kind of have blinders on. I'm very goal oriented. I'm just not a good observer of everyday activities and data that's all around me, which in the moment seems peripheral and unimportant. But as you start to think about this idea of these discovery skills, the more you can start to make that a regular practice, the more you start to realize how valuable that kind of everyday data is in making future decisions. So I don't know whether it's Sean's example of driving or what, it's something that the more we can become real data gatherers in every little thing that we do, it's really a powerful skill to start, to try to acquire. Jamie, were you going to say something? Oh, there you go. That's fine.
I could though, I always got something to say. I think for my clinic, observing was what I think made me be successful, is I was watching the parents and I was listening to the parents and observing what their needs were and where their needs weren't getting met. And then I just associated with the, crossing the medical and the educational domains and voila. So I think when I did my interview with you guys, I thought I was never a businesswoman. I really was just a mom trying to help, and
Right.
And it was through observational and associating and really pure maternal instinct to help, you know, your own child that then turned into this thing where I was like, oh my God, I don't have a business degree. I don't know what I'm doing. What, my first, you know, employee, I get a letter that's going to sue me. And then I'm like, oh crap, you know, I didn't
Right,
realize
right.
all this stuff. So then I had to realize too, like Ruth, thank you, you have to be humble and realize you don't know everything and you never can know everything. And that's why I think it behooves of us to take advantage of every learning environment at its optimal. And doing it through these lenses and knowing your faults and knowing what you're not good at, then you can
Right.
improve upon that and then down the road be even better than, you know, obviously what you started with.
One thing I'll say about experimenting, and then if you guys have comments too, then we'll jump into the activity. But one thing I've learned in being, so I came into academia, I got here in 2007, I ended up at USC. I was really expecting something different from academia. I was expecting much more what our robes yesterday evoked, kind of this staid, boring, you know, whatever. Just I was expecting something much different, and I was really very much interested in the quality of life that higher education would offer and the chance to, you know, think, because I enjoy thinking. But instead, I found myself in this very entrepreneurial, relatively innovative institution, and we've just been constantly doing stuff, you know, since 2007. So it's been a pleasant surprise. But one thing I've learned in terms of the way I've learned to operate in that environment, and this gets to experimenting, is you can, well, a couple of things. One, I've learned it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. And then I've learned that pilots are an awesome way to go. So if you're not going to ask permission, you better not announce something official and launch it. Instead, just propose stuff, get a team around you, and pilot it. Then if it fails, nobody cares, and if it succeeds,